Hello everyone, welcome back to my stream. Today I'm gonna probably just be on a short stream. It's probably just gonna be a short one. I just got back from a quick road trip and I figured I'd get on stream since I wasn't able to stream yesterday. But I try to stay pretty consistent throughout the week. So here I am. So the last time I was on stream, which was Saturday, there was an issue with the Webpart where it would crash when I go to configure. There we go. The resize observer loop completed with undelivered notifications. But I'm not quite sure why I'm getting that error, given that when I look at my solution, there is no such thing as a resize observer. And why is it? I noticed that there's a lot of files that are on here that really shouldn't be here. And I think these are just files that are in the common folder. And I'm not entirely sure that those should be there. We have a config folder. Yeah, this one. So you can see that my web part is here. But I don't believe that this needs to be in the git ignore. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that it should be in the git ignore because it looks like it's all the compiled files. So let me find out how we add an entire folder to git ignore, because I don't believe we need to be saving that to the git repository. And I don't know how to do it, so we're gonna go to reliable Google and figure it out. Dirt to ignore, so I guess it's just the directory to ignore. So let's open the git ignore, and I guess I could have just done this, right? Let's see. What do I want to ignore? I see heft is already on there, but the node modules is there. I'm gonna say lib common JS should be added there. That way it doesn't deploy that. There you go. That looks a lot better. I'm assuming, yeah, this would have to be in there. This would have to be in there. Why did I do this? I don't remember why I added a fragment there. I'm thinking that I added something that I wasn't supposed to, but I'll get rid of that. I don't really think I need that. Obviously we'll get rid of gulp. Our package JSON has changed and our lock JSON has changed. And this was part of the upgrade to, what was that library called? I think it was called Heft, right? It's a new way of building the web part. It used to be gulp, but we updated it from gulp to now use Heft. So let's update that. Upgrade SPFx. I'd hope if I write correctly. Upgrade SPFx. We updated the SPFx version. And logically now we need to figure out why. And it's really random that I'm getting that error. I'm not getting that error the whole time. So I'm not entirely sure why it's happening, but we'll figure it out. See, unknown promise rejection. Let me see if I can get AI to help me with this one. I need to figure out because it doesn't really give me too much to go with. And the other error was this one. So, yep. This was error 1, and this was error 2. I have ask before edit, so it should pause before it tries to edit something. While that's doing that, I'm going to be looking up doing cascade delete XML, only because one of the things that I've noticed in my backend is that I have all of these topics and all of these questions, but there's some of the questions where the ID is going to be empty. Well, maybe not. I thought there would be some empty ones because I believe I deleted some. Oh no, not the ID, but the parent ID. You can tell that I have several empty, which means that I've deleted the parent topic, but the question still exists. And so I need to basically, when you have a lookup field, you can technically have a list where your database or your list in SharePoint automatically deletes something once the parent has been removed. So this lookup field should technically have a way to do that. What's the issue though? What happened? Oh, it has to do with hot reload. So this is the issue. What is it suggesting we do? Load config. It's telling me to get rid of load config, but I need that. Oh, you're just gonna put it in a try catch. I mean, it's worth a shot. Oh shoot, I didn't mean to put the caps lock. Anyway, but with the lookups, you can have enforced relationship behavior and then have it where it has a cascade delete, obviously implying that it'll cascade and delete whatever whatever the child components or the child items are to that parent. So I need to get rid of that. Yes. Let's see what this does. I also learned a couple of things here recently. I came across a couple of things regarding AI and development. I really want to do a deep dive into those and maybe incorporate that into my workflow. Apparently, there's other things that you can do to make AI work better. So far, my experience has been more to get more. The more and more I work with AI, the more and more I typically use it just to help me debug things, and to help me with styling, for instance. But what I've been finding is that there are other methodologies that can be incorporated to make AI more inherently able to understand what you want it to do. And so I'm probably going to be doing some development with that as well, just so that I can share that with everyone that's on my stream, and maybe they'll give you some insights as to, how I'm going about growing in that space, because I feel like it is something that could be beneficial. Let's test what it did. It says it fixed it. I doubt it, but we'll see. I know I have little faith in it, but we'll see. Nope, it just did it. It flashed. I don't know if it's something that's going to continue to. Yep, it's still doing it. But I really have a feeling that this has to do not so much with my code. I think it has to do with um so this error remains, keep in mind that it is only occurring when I am in display view edit, which is what opens a stepper. Because I noticed that what it made a change to was and the configuration components. That actually might be the issue. That might have been the issue the entire time. I think that this might have been the issue, that it didn't have any dependencies in the dependency array in question answer, because it was always crashing in that spot. I'm thinking that it wasn't an issue with the other part. Not that it matters. I mean, the reality is it's still working, and I think what it did was it consolidated the creation of the load from config to not have it in both the FAQ main and default layout, which is pretty optimal. So I think we can just keep that update. What I'm basically trying to say is, if you look at default layout and FAQ main, they both had this configuration set up where it was loading the configuration. And so what it did was consolidate it. It consolidated it in default layout, and then it passed them as properties into the components, rather than having it done in both components. It built that parent-child relationship, which I guess I didn't really look at the layout before I did that. My brain kind of separated the two, but now that I really think about it, they're both leveraged on both views. What I'm trying to say is that this is retrieving the object of the configuration, and it's loading the web part. But we have to keep in mind that it does it for both when we're in the configuration view and when we're in the view, the regular view, where people can actually see the questions and answers, etc. So either way, it's good from that standpoint. Let's see what else it did. So it looks like, oh, it just wrapped the load from config in a try catch, which is a good thing. It should have been in a try catch anyway. All right. So the next thing that I need this to do is bug fix, promise, and what was the other error? Promise and promise rejection and resize observer. Promise rejection and resize observer fix. Resize observer fix. Anyway, so that fixed that. Now the next thing that I wanted to do is to have a verification. So I'm gonna get it to do the same another thing for me. Set up verification dialog when user attempts to delete question or topic. Topic advise that deleting will also delete questions associated to it. Let's put this in plan mode just in case it thinks of something else that I didn't quite think about. Anyway, while it's doing that, like I said, I was gonna look at I was gonna look at shoot. I was gonna look at lists provisioning. So SPFx list provisioning. And so here is what we need. because we went off on a tangent the last time. I went to do this, but then I read about it being updated to 122. And so I went down that tangent and I started updating it. I didn't really put any thought into the definition and, you know, provisioning these Webpart parts. But yeah, I need to add that next. So it says that to do that, we have to go into elements XML. So create a new file called elements XML in the SharePoint assets folder. So let's go there. So here's a SharePoint, but I don't see an assets folder. I guess I'm assuming I have to create it. We have an assets folder in the web part, but it doesn't say the web part. It says the SharePoint folder, new folder, and we're going to call it assets. And inside of assets, we're going to add a elements XML. And I think there's a schema XML that we have to add there as well. Yeah, so schema XML. Originally two fields, the same set, content type, the list instance of the custom schema, definitions use standard feature framework schema. Custom fields are being referenced and introduced in content type. Use custom schema to define a provisioning time. Okay. So we have to also create a schema XML also in the assets folder. So let's do that as well. We create a new folder of schema. What's it called? Schema XML. All right. So create a new file. Schema XML. All right. So now we have both files. Let's copy the elements. And let's copy the schema. So this is our schema and our element XML. This is why I recommend putting it on planning. Should deleting a topic automatically delete all associated questions in SharePoint, or just warn the user? Warn. Let SharePoint handle it. I'm gonna go with just warn if the need arises. So right now what I want to figure out is if I can make the deployment of the assets automatically be configured to delete the child list items, because as I was mentioning earlier, the SharePoint list itself contains the ability for you to be able to enforce relationship behavior, where what that essentially means is you can either restrict delete or cascade delete. And it very much means that. So restrict delete means I'm not going to allow you to delete until you delete the children, right? So you would have to get rid of the children. And so you would get a message saying like, hey, you can't delete this. There's children elements there, or it doesn't allow you. It restricts you from deleting. The latter, cascade delete, allows you to delete and subsequently deletes all of its children. And that's optimal, right? Because if I delete a topic, instead of having to create into my API an iterative process to go through and find the children and delete them, which would be inefficient for my application, I can make my application efficient by leveraging what SharePoint already comes out of the box with. And thus, what I mean by that is, we can have this feature turned on. What I don't know yet, though, is if I'm able to do that in the XML. So far, a little earlier, I did a little research myself, and it turns out that it might be available, but I'm not certain. So this is where we find out, and you and I can find out what's feasible and what's not. And we can make a better assessment as to how we deploy things, and if there needs to be extra deployment instructions that come with any web part that you build. Because there's certain things that aren't available in the API that you won't be able to enforce. And this may very well be one of them, but we'll find out together. So let's give it a shot. All right, so it's saying that implementation plan, add a verification dialog for deleted operations. Topic deletion warning must inform user that associated questions will also be deleted. The delete buttons will exist, and right? No confirmation dialog shown. Deletes happen immediately. Confirm delete dialog exists, but only used for the attachment. Delete in topic selector in question. No cascade delete logic detected. Add dialog state. Okay, so it's gonna add a dialog state. So basically it's gonna add a confirm delete Boolean hook Import confirm delete dialog from this and add react state use boolean. Yeah, that's fine. Correct. Modify handle delete function currently async line 62 to 75. Change the asynchronous function that set states and opens the dialog, store topic ID, and add new confirmation to delete async function. Contains current handle delete logic. Correct. All right. At the end of the component, message deleting the topic will also delete. Correct. Add dialog state to question answer. So it's just going to add the dialogues. Modify delete FAQ item. Okay. I just want to make sure it doesn't go through and try to create a function that deletes the child components. So reusable dialogue, topic deletion with cascade warning, topic delete button, question delete button. Topic deletion shows confirmation dialog, question deletion, cancel button closes the dialog, confirm button executes deletion. Error handling works if deletion fails. Dialog state resets properly. Is it confirmed just a warn? Cascade delete ship won't handle actual deletion. Correct. I just want to make sure that it understands that, because sometimes it'll go through and create additional callbacks functions that I didn't call for it to do. And so I want to just verify that it does understand that I'm going to let SharePoint handle that part. Confirm delete dialog already exists. Correct. Correct. So optimistic updates. That's right. No changes needed to stackable bar. Correct. So yes, and auto accept. Anyway, so as I was saying, we go in here and I thought I saw enforce, what was it called? Enforce relationship behavior. Come on. So we got to look up enforce SharePoint XML. Yeah, so this is what I was looking at earlier. So apparently you can do the relationship delete behavior to be restrict. You obviously have to index that field. And I thought I saw well, here we have elements. So in the elements we have the fields. The reality is we only need 2 fields, I believe. There's the parent ID field, and we need so let's go to the database. So it looks like the promise rejection is still there. So for topics, that just runs off of the title field, but the FAQ list has an answer field and a parent ID field. And the parent ID obviously being the answer and the parent ID being the ID of the parent list item. So we need to create those 2 fields. So the first field is going to be multiple lines of text, which is going to be an answer field. It's going to be called answer. Name is answer. Lay is answer. Type is going to be note. And I believe I have provisioning. I already have a provisioning folder in here, if I'm not mistaken. Why not? Apparently I don't. But I did download the provisioning schema. This right here is what I need. Let's open this. Let's put it to the side here. I wish I could put, I really don't want to make it to where you can't see it. I like people that are watching my stream that are watching from a mobile phone to be able to still see my screen. So everything looks a little oversized, so bear with me. I know that it kind of be a little bit of a reduction in real estate that we have to work with. But nevertheless, we will continue to proceed. So its answer required is going to be false. Index is going to be false. The group is what we need to change. I'm going to call it FAQ columns. So here on SPFx columns, we're going to rename this to FAQ columns. And also, just an idea, you don't have to do this, but I generally recommend putting an underscore, because what that's going to do is when you go look at the assets for your SharePoint site, it's going to put at the very top. What I mean by that is if I go to my site settings, if I go here to site settings and I go to site columns, if you grouped everything correctly, you're, instead of seeing base columns here, you're going to see underscore and the name of your group, which is ideal because that puts your columns at the top. If you name them something else and let's say it starts with like a random letter, then it's going to put it in alphabetical order. So you're going to have to scroll down constantly. When you're developing, you want to be as efficient as possible. Name it something that's like, put an underscore in front of it, makes it stand out, puts it at the top of the list. Highly recommended that you do that. So note, and then I need to make this, there should be a setting for, plain text. So SharePoint field XML, note plain text. Let's see how we can do a plain text. So here we go. Number of lines, rich text false. So it's rich text false. So rich text, and we're gonna make this false. All right, so it's false. And then what else do we need? We need the parent to be a lookup field. I don't, that's kind of my, we're just gonna wing it. So we have a list instance here. I believe if we want more than one list, then we have to put 2 list instances inside of elements. So obviously the first one is gonna be a list called topics. So let's go to site contents. So we're gonna create 2 lists. One list is gonna be called FAQ. Oops. Oh my gosh. FAQ topics. We're gonna call that one here FAQ topics. And that one's basically going to be, we don't have to put a description there. We don't really care. Schema XML. Shoot. Let's get through this part first. So, and then list FAQ topics. All right, and template is going to be 100. It's just your typical list. There's other different, I think 101 is document library. So you don't always put this, just so you know, there is different templates. You can put SharePoint list library template numbers in Google, and that will tell you what template you can use. So list template types. So here we go. The document library is 101. A regular list is 100, which is what I'm using. You can have a calendar list, which would be 106. But make sure that you always look at that. Don't just follow what I do. Make sure that if you're ever doing this kind of work, that you look this up. Remember, don't memorize anything when it comes to this. Like, you constantly see me looking stuff up. A, because things always change. We work in technology, they always change. And B, it's just best practice to always work in this manner. Memorization just comes from repetition. Just keep that in mind. Learn the concepts. That's what I would do if I was in the position that you are in, which is you're trying to learn, or you're just, you know, watching this for any other reason. Always make sure that you always take that aspect of learning to code and learning development. No memorization, just learning concepts. All right, so we have our FAQ topic list, and I'm putting that it's going to be schema XML, and I wonder how can I deploy 2 lists in SPFx Webpart using elements and schema XML. So because we're trying to deploy 2 lists. So SharePoint, create an assets folder, and then I'm going to put both. Okay, correct. And I'm assuming it's going to be two different XML files. Yeah, so see, you have a schema 1 and schema 2. Okay, so we're going to have two schemas. All right, so basically all you do is we're going to go into the file, we're going to create another schema, and let's just rename this one to schema question, and then the other one's going to be schema topic. So schema topic, just so that we can easily understand which one's targeting which. So obviously topic would target the schema topic. So let's gonna rename that to schema topic. Let's move this in here. So inside of our elements XML for our topics, the schema is gonna be schema topic, and then we're gonna add another list instance. Oof. Alt down. Okay, so the second list instance is going to be FAQ list. And it does do that in order from top to bottom. So make sure that whatever list you want to provision first, you put it at the very top. And then the one you want to provision next, you put it as second. All right. All right. So the next one is FAQ list. So this one will be FAQ list. And also we want to create a new a feature ID that's different. So I usually do a GUID generator. So I go here and I go to free online GUID, and then I just copy the clipboard, and I go ahead and get rid of these as just as general standard practice. And here's our next one. So now I have my two random GUIDs, my FAQ topic and my FAQ list. All right. So we have both of our lists. The next thing we need to do is we have a custom field called answer, and the other field, what was the parent ID? That was type lookup. This one. So we have a type lookup. Oops, might not need two of those. Get rid of that. All right, lookup. Required is false. Actually, that is incorrect. Required should be true. FAQ columns is correct. Display name should be parent ID. So this one right here. Parent ID. All right, so field going to be parent ID. Display name is also parent ID. Type lookup, and then we're gonna do what it said as far as required is going to be true. List ID. Oh, how do we do this part? That's a good question. How do we get SPF? Actually, we need to leave that open. SPFx provision vision list lookup list ID lookup field get list ID of parent. It'll fix it. And get rid of this quote at the end. Original reference to another list. Oh, that's right. Of course we have the list ID. So the list ID is going to be inside of the schema, I think. I thought it was there, unless it's under, oh, right here. Is it the feature ID? Is it the feature ID? Lookup. I'm trying to provision two lists. Title column is still I want to create a lookup field that references the title column with list 1. The problem is that when I try to install the application, it gives an error. When I try to provision the list and into the lookup field, here's some code. Unless the source list must already exist before the lookup. In the old feature framework days, I used to solve this by having the lookup and it's listing a separate feature that was activated after the source list. I'm not sure a strip-on framework provision allows for multiple features. You can't do that. You might want to try using 2 solutions. Oh, that sucks. That's not good. I don't want to have to create 2 web parts. That would be crap. How to fetch list items. I don't know. I don't think it's gonna be feasible. Let's see what Claude code says. Is it feasible to load 2 lists using SPFx elements and schema XML, but have a lookup field? I'm not going to say it to the first list, but have a lookup field to the other list. Is this, oh, I already said if it's feasible. Stop it, lady. And I'm going to say clarifying questions. And it's just so that I'm not confusing this thing. Why didn't it open? No. So the app. Okay, that's weird. That is bizarre. Let's go to task manager and let's just terminate Claude. SPFx is what we're talking about. Is it feasible to deploy 2 lists using, stop please, 80, stop, deploy 2 lists using elements and schema XML and have a lookup field? I see lookup field needs, sorry, my dog wants to be part of the stream. I see lookup field needs the list ID. Is not sure if it is feasible. Let me see. We'll see what it says. I don't know that it's possible. You're right to be concerned. It's tricky. Lookup fields need the target list to exist first. So I guess you can have it. This is targeting SharePoint Online. I don't know. I figured. So feature receivers, I think, was one of the things that we used to be able to do when you did sandbox solutions back when we were working on solutions that were server based, farm based solutions. Use a site script or PNP PowerShell post deployment much cleaner than Elements XML. Yeah, but the problem is that The problem is that you can't always rely on the person that's deploying the solution to have the correct rights to run scripts that will do what you need it to do. But I'm gonna be optimistic and say this may work. I mean, if it doesn't, then we'll go back to the drawing board. So in the part where it's asking for list, so this being a lookup, it's gonna need a list, and the target list is going to be topics because we're looking at FAQ topics. Oof, that topics. So group true, topics lookup, parent ID. What else do we need? Type lookup, display name. Do we have a display name? Yeah. List, show field. Show field is going to be ID. Yeah. So let's make show field just be the ID. Required true, indexed. Yep, we want it to be indexed. And this is going to be true as well. There we go. Relationship delete behavior. And this is going to be cascade. Why? There we go, cascade. ID. I don't see IDs being, well, technically there's an ID there and an ID here. I generally go with generating some. We're going to take this one and we're going to update it with that. And we'll update the other one with this. Okay. What am I missing? What? Wait. From there to the C. And now we paste it. All right. So we have all of our fields now. And this is going to be a lookup, so we don't have choices in the lookup. Get rid of those. Rich text false required. Okay, I think we have everything that we need. And so content type, cost center. Content type, we're going to call it FAQ list. Content type. And this is going to be called underscore FAQ content type. Let's get rid of the description. And I note, actually, now that I think about it, I think that these IDs before, let's do Control Z. I think these IDs are relative. So 943, yeah, they're relative to each other. So all right, we got rid of description, and now we're gonna have these fields be part of this content type. So here we go with the end, and then we copy this one as well. Go all the way to the end, delete that, and save this. Okay, so we have our schema topic and schema question, I believe. We have our two different IDs for our list instances. We have the list instances defined. We have our fields defined associated with a specific content type. And then in our topic, content type reference, that's kind of tricky because this is problematic because we only need the content type to be associated with. So this should only be associated with C8B. C8B. Okay, so this one should be, question is the only one that should have the parent ID. The question should be the only one that has parent ID and should have the two fields that we need, which is parent ID and the answer. Should only be part of question. So question is the one that's going to need those two fields in that content ID. The other one, however, should not require a content type. So I'm thinking that should work. And then field ref ID, display form, edit form, field ref, link title, amount, and cost center. We can leave link title because that's a default one. This one, I'm going to go ahead and say title and get rid of this field ref because we don't need that. Find type of JS, default view, view pages, view page SPFx. All items that expect. Okay, so everything else I'm pretty much gonna leave default. And then for the schema question, here's where we have our two fields. So we're gonna have our title. Actually, link title technically is the title, so we can get rid of that. And then on this one, we have link title, and we're gonna have our two fields from the elements. So we have answer, and we have parent ID. Okay, and then we have our content type and then our fields. Okay, so this, fingers crossed, should work. Let's close this. I think that's it. Let's give it a test. We're gonna test this. So to test this to deploy, let's go test that next. I'm just gonna give it one last glance. We have our three fields for here, and we have our content type association. Good. We have our two field. Wait a minute. No, the fields didn't need. Okay, so let's test it. All right. So to test this, before I test it, let me open the AI that we were just talking to, because I think I left it doing something. Yeah. So this was. Did it do what I wanted it to? So it looks like it did confirm delete dialog. Okay. So it does have the delete dialog. All right. We'll test that in a minute. But let's test what we just did. So we can turn off these terminals. We're going to go to scripts and we're going to get ready for deployment. So first we do clean. What did it say? I saw some red messaging. Build. I'm such a noob when it comes to, what is this error? Handle delete. Handle delete. What did you do? Saying that handle delete cannot be. Go to definition, question selector. Let's move it over to the side here. The question selector needed a handle delete, which is requires ID. And the delete FAQ what? Delete FAQ item, it has ID void. ID promise void. ID void. Set question ID, toggle question. So let's change this to be promise void. but now we have an issue. Oh, because it's not an asynchronous function. Yeah, like that. All right, so let's save that. And that should get rid of our errors. Premise rejection reason. Oh man, ever since I did that update, everything seems to just be going to the crapper. I'm not sure what's going on with that error, but it looks like it's, I don't know. I'll have to figure that one out. But right now my main focus is trying to see if I can go into SharePoint folder. And here's the solution. Let's delete this. All right, so we got rid of the error, so that should be working fine. Build, watch, package solution. Let's go to with build. I've never done this, so this is a little confusing to me, honestly. It's typically whenever we used gulp, we would do clean, build, bundle, and ship. And right now I just tried to do clean and it went through the build process. So it's a little confusing, to be quite frank. What is the problem? Cannot command npm run build. I don't know what we reused. Okay, so that's not working either. All right. What about package solution? What does package solution do? This product, this is not a production build. Therefore, so it says it's done, but did it create a file? I don't see it. Under solution. Oh, here it is. Okay, so revealing file explorer. Let's try it. All right, so if we deploy it, let's go to the app catalog. Inside the app catalog is where we're going to drop this file. We go to apps for SharePoint. We're going to deploy it. So fingers crossed. We're going to deploy it, replace it. Deploy. All right, so now it's deployed. Let's go ahead and terminate everything. No terminals are running. No scripts are running at all. If I refresh it, this should still work. Technically. Nope. What am I doing? That's not right. Dev deploy. Package solution deploy Azure storage. Let's look at the package JSON file. Okay, so inside of the package JSON file, here's our scripts. Build, have clean. So let's just run this in the terminal and see what this does. Have clean. Okay, so that cleaned it. What about build? Have build. All right, that finished. And now build. Now we got a bundle. But I don't see a bundle. Build, clean, test. Okay, deploy SPFx 1.22 heft. So we're using this version. Upgrading fixed issues, additional resources. Okay. Build to chain, release, roadmap, design, setup and deployment. Deploy Webpart to hidden scope solution deployment. Trigger across the tenant. Okay. But it doesn't say what commands I'm supposed to run. Install analyzer. This is still using gulp. I should have just stuck with the original. Jeez. Package solutions. Let's go to package solutions. Hello. Chatter, how are you? All right, so I don't see deploy. Does the package solutions reference the build artifacts? It does by default look for that in the you know what? I think you do bring up a good point, because we have now, whenever we built it now, we have these client-side assets in the debug folder. But the debug folder, as we know, is utilized for whenever you're actually debugging the solution utilizing this in production. I believe it does by default put that in your SPPKG. But we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out, because I'm about to deploy it. And the way we find out is if the lists don't get provisioned, then it didn't do that. It didn't include them. And then we're gonna have to figure out what we did wrong. Heft version of bundle and package. So it looks like we have gulp bundle ship, and now it's called mentor replaced by heft bundle production. So what is now? So what if now that you run the build command, try the package solution again? I was trying to figure out, because before with SharePoint Framework version 1.2.1, and every version before that, actually, there was a recent issue with the Node Package Manager. I don't know if you saw the news, but apparently Node Package Manager was hacked. And so Gulp was one of those that was part of the problem. And so because of it, that flaw in that package from Node Package Manager, SharePoint Framework was recently released to be new version 1.22, which replaces Gulp as your packaging solution, the packaging framework, if you want to call it that, or the packaging tool chain. It removed it from the tool chain. It no longer uses Gulp. Now it uses heft, and heft has a different command. So we're gonna do heft bundle, and instead of ship, it's now called production. So we have to run this command here. And then the last one is heft package solution. If you don't want your artifacts to be in your solution, then you do not put the flag // production. // production implies you're literally deploying everything, including the assets. If you do not want to do that, because the main reason people don't do that, or at least from my perspective, the reason I don't do it is because I like to see what the web part will look like on the actual page that I'm deploying it to. Because you can use the workbench, but with the workbench, first of all, the workbench is really narrow, and it's not really a realistic implementation of what a SharePoint a SharePoint page looks like. So therefore, I typically tend to build the package to be ready to be seen on the page, but still having the assets inside of my node server running, something like the serve, right? I'm serving it, but I'm serving it from my node server running on my SharePoint framework, VS Code. What that enables me to do is see the web part on the actual page, but be able to see it rendered like on a SharePoint page really nicely, but still be able to make changes to the code in Visual Studio. And it's a win-win. It's a win-win in that scenario. All right, so we did bundle, and now we're going to do package solution. It's good. And now you see that this file is here. And it should say 958. It does. And now we're going to go deploy this into, and that's the reason right now, the reason you're seeing this technical details is because I didn't put production on the flag. So right now when I load it, this error should go away. But before I load it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to contents, and I'm going to get rid of these lists, because technically these lists should get generated when I deploy the solution. But let me get rid of these two lists. So when I deploy the solution, it should hypothetically, theoretically create my lists for me. Well, we're going to find out. All right, so let's deploy the solution by dropping the SPPKG file into the app catalog. And then we're going to say deploy it. Another thing that will let you know that you've actually gotten this ready for production is if you see the words localhost in this line right here, you didn't get it ready for production and it's not going to work. The only way it's going to work is if you're running the serve from your local node installation on your VS Code. If you see SharePoint Online, you're in business. You did it right. And the assets are there. So now it's deployed. I'm going to refresh it. And if I go back to my site, you should see that my lists aren't there yet. I'm going to go to the FAQ page. I'm going to edit it. I'm going to get rid of this old one. I'm going to republish. And just for good measure, I am going to clear the site data, and I'm going to empty cache and reset the page. All right, now I'm going to edit the page. By the way, if you ever have an issue where you're working on an app and you really want to do a deep clean of just that one page, you don't want to clear all of your cache, my recommendation is go to the application tab, put a checkbox on third-party cookies, and clear the site data. That just eliminates any of the artifacts for that one page, any of the cached things for that one page. You don't necessarily have to go and clear all your cache and cookies from your entire browser. Just a bit of a tip there. So here's my web part, and look at that, it loaded, but we have an issue. The issue is that the lists don't exist, and I'm almost 100% sure that's what happened. The lists aren't there, so that's why it's crashing. So I don't know why it. I'm thinking that it's an error with. Let me try it on a different site. Just, I'm curious. I have a friend named Raj that I'm gonna be having him join me on the stream one of these days, and I created him a site recently. He's gonna do, like, he wants to learn SharePoint framework, so I figured what better to do than to have my friend Raj join me coding, and he'll probably like be literally coding side by side with me. And he wants to basically learn SharePoint framework from the bottom up, learning functional components. And so if you're interested in something like that and you want to see that kind of interaction between somebody that's learning that may be just in the same, same scenario that some of you may be watching are, then please join us on that. Hopefully it'll be beneficial to you. The site that I created for him, I believe, was called, what was that site? It was sites Raj training, I think. Let's see if it's Yes, it is cool. So my buddy Raj will use his site. Hopefully he's gone in here and done a thing or two. I don't know. So let's go to contents. Obviously the list should not exist. Let's go to site. Let's go to add a page. Close the toolbox. And we're going to add a FAQ. And just out of curiosity, let's duplicate this tab. I have too many tabs open. And let's see. Obviously this is not gonna work. The lists aren't getting created. So I'm thinking that I'm gonna figure it out. I think it's the issue where it's not provisioning correctly because the XML files I provided to it are not configured correctly. So it's probably throwing up in the process. But if we go to site contents, yeah, the lists aren't there. Now I'm curious if I go and I'm pretty sure that the issue. Let's go back here because I need to make, before I go and throw everything away. It says build package solution, make sure that the unique GUID is correct and make sure they're unique. Package solution, debug, deploy the package that was generated to the app catalog. Upload or drag the asset deployment. Yeah, it's just the SPPKG. Ah, so this is different. So this is going to be a different way to deploy it. That's why it's not working. Let's publish this page and let's go. Okay, so that page is published. Oh, let's see, FAQ. Let's call it FAQ. Close it, publish it. All right. So there is the old school way of deploying applications that contained assets was you had to go in here and go to, you had to open it in classic view. And I don't know. How to open site assets in classic view. Let's go look. How to open site contents classic. Actually, now that I think about it, I believe you have to go to add an app. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be under my organization, if not under all. So it's not under there. Modern calendar, modern script editor, Webpart. So it's not here. Oh, go to classic experience. Yeah, here we go. And it should be in here, but it's not. So never mind that. I figured it out. So to go to classic experience, you saw what I did. There's a classic experience here under add apps. And then it opens this way. And technically it's supposed to be here, but it's not. So that isn't working. All right, so define upgrade actions. Deploy the package that was generated. The app catalog. Wait, it wasn't in debug, was it? Is there another one in debug? No. Client side assets. Let's let me try something because I'm thinking that the issue is. Hello, chatter. Welcome to the stream. So I'm thinking the issue is my setup of the XML files in this scenario. That's what I really think is the issue here. So just to squash that, let's bring in the XML files in the default manner that they're found here, just for testing purposes, so that we can kind of eliminate the potential that, you know, that what I did was wrong. I'm going to actually store these. So reveal in File Explorer, and I'm going to create a backup folder. Let's just go to Documents and let's create a new folder called Backup. And I always recommend that you back stuff up, because if you do this, it's going to make it a lot easier if you want to just bring them back and not have to retype everything. All right, so now that that's done, I have a backup of it. I can go ahead and get rid of these. I'm going to create a new file under, it was under what? Where was it? It was under Assets. New file, Schema, XML. And the other one was Elements. Elements.xml. All right. It could also be, so here's our elements. Let's go to elements. It could also be the fact that the new framework isn't quite working for the provisioning of assets. It could be that. So we're gonna figure that out. Technically, these default files should work. So, all right, we're gonna build. I'm sorry, not build, but we're going to clean the solution first. All right, it's clean. I like how fast this is. It's a lot faster than what I'm used to with Gulp. I will say that much. All right, so we're gonna build. Next thing we do is we're going to bundle. What happened? Did it bundle it? Build finish. Command invalid choice bundle. Clean run build test. I literally ran this earlier. Let me clean it again. Clean. And we have build. Let me make this larger too, so that and then build and then bundle. Have their argument command invalid choice bundle. Let's just try -- debug. Nothing. Is it because it's missing? Did I do something with the package JSON? It is missing. Well, bundle is not there. Is bundle not let's go back to this right here. Have bundle production or just have build production? So it looks like it's just have to build production. You don't do bundle anymore. So package solution production. Bundle ship. Build production combines the build and bundle. Also, build and bundle is covered by have build. So have build, builds and bundles, and then you do package solution. And that's what I did, right? We did package solution. Yeah. So we don't do have bundle anymore. So we just do have build, and that takes care of the build and bundle process. And then we just run. That looks like it's a lot. One thing that I noticed right off the bat is my client, my debug folder has a lot more files, which technically implies to me that now it was probably an issue with my schema and my elements XML. That's the first thing that I gather right off the bat. The next thing that I'm gonna do is this is generally I go through the troubleshooting process is literally like the scientific method. My hypothesis right now is that my issue is with my lookup field. My lookup field is creating the nightmare scenario. So if I'm not able to load the lookup field through my schema and the elements, the only alternative we have at that point is to build a catch into the program, into the web part that says, hey, that lookup field does not exist. And therefore you need to get if you're an admin, and we can actually check if they are a site admin. If they are a site admin, meaning like a site collection admin or a full control or higher, if they have full control or higher, then we can automatically run a script silently on the background that will create that field. If they are not an admin, then the message will be, hey, there's something missing and you need to contact your site collection admin so that they can assist you in the final step. It's not optimal. However, that's really the only solution we have. But I'm just speaking in foresight right now. There may very well be a scenario where we can deploy a lookup field. Based on what I've seen so far, based on what I see online in those couple of articles that we saw, and the AI response, I'm very hesitant to say that it is something that's going to be feasible. But nonetheless, we can certainly attempt to or try our best to see if we can do that. So now we have this ready to go. Let's go back to the app catalog and drop the file, replace it. All right. Okay, so make the solution available, deploy it. All right, let's go to my friends list here and let's see if it shows it here. I don't see it there. But let's go to pages. Let's go to FAQ. Edit. And we're going to add it. Obviously, it's going to error out. But I'm just curious to see if it created any of the artifacts. So now if we go to contents here, it didn't. Yeah, so I mean, the only thing that I can think of that may have caused all of this is the fact that the SharePoint framework scenario is not working for the new version. It says, oh wait, check this out. Packages that contain SharePoint assets cannot be tenant deployed from the tenant application catalog and cannot be used in site application catalog. What this means is that I can't put it. So I guess I should have read that first. Right now, I'm literally deploying to the app catalog, which is a tenant level catalog. And the article states we cannot do that. So SharePoint SCP information is part of your SharePoint framework solution and are deployed to SharePoint sites when the solution is installed on it. Create a new Webpart project. Structure it, add the files. Build pipeline. Open the package solution JSON from the config folder. Oh, I didn't do this part. This is what I didn't do. Bundle package solution, debug. upload and drag and drop the package in the app catalog. But I thought it just said we couldn't put it in the app catalog. I'm gonna give this a shot. Maybe this is the only thing that I'm missing. So here is under version, under the package solution JSON. I need to add this. So this object needs to be added. So let's add that. Let's add this under version on the package JSON. Package JSON, it's up here under config. Package solution. And here's our version. Features. We have features. Include client-side assets, true. Skip feature deployment. All right, so what do we need to put? Is domain isolated? Schema solution. So here inside of our solution, there's a features array. Here's the features array. And so in the features array, there should be a version set up there. So features, I don't see a version inside of feature. So FAQ Webpart feature. The feature that activates elements. Wait, let me check something out real quick. Let's go to under Raj's site. Let's go to site settings. And we're gonna go to features. It might be under manage site features. There's nothing there. And feature, site collection features. Do we have anything that resembles FAQ? It would be called FAQ Webpart feature. Oh, here we go. It's under version. This is what we're supposed to do. Okay, so now that we have that, it's saying to go to the provisioning assets, open package solution, using the feature schema. When it's deployed, the next step is to include them in. Make sure you define a unique GUID for the ID property of the feature. However, this isn't recommended. What? You can technically have multiple features in the package because features property is an array. However, this isn't recommended. Elements XML is referenced under element manifest. So that is property package for the, you can have multiple elements. They'll be executed in the order they're mentioned in the JSON definition. Typically, you should avoid using multiple elements because they add unnecessary complexity. You can define all the needed assets in a single elements XML file. So, okay, let's try it. So I did the changes. It's saying I can't put it in the app catalog, but then it says later on that I can. It's a little confusing. So now let's see what we can figure out. So let's clear this and we're gonna do eft clean. Then we have I think it was build, and that takes care of bundle. Because it said bundles. I'm gonna just run it just in case it doesn't work. Let's go to package. All right. So let's go back to the app catalog. Refresh this one to be okay. Try it. Replace it. If this doesn't work, I'm gonna be done for tonight. Not rage quitting, but I was only intending to really be only for an hour. But as with everything fun that I enjoy doing, this is fun to me, folks. So This is me playing a video game right now. Um, since this stuff is fun for me, I, you know, tend to get carried away. So I'm already a little bit over an hour, and I was only intending to be here for not that long. So it's deployed, and it's not here. And if I go here, delete it, republish. Let's clear the data. Empty cache. Edit. AQ. And of course it's gonna fail. And if I go to contents, it's not there. Yeah, I am going to defer this. I'm not gonna use the provisioning assets because I feel like I don't like doing this kind of deployments, like adding web parts like this. I'm not a fan of that. I was gonna try it. I gave it a try. I don't really like it. It just reminds me of installing Nintex, and I can't stand Nintex. And so what we're gonna do next time is I'm going to actually build a provisioning script, and then have a way that we can check the user's permission to see if they're even permissioned to be able to run the script. And if they are, then we'll go ahead and let them run the provisioning assets script. And then that will deploy everything that they need for this application to work. If they're not, then it would encourage them to reach out to their site collection administrator to do the deployment. But that's it for me tonight. Thanks for joining me. Peace.